So I'm Doug Leigh. My current home location is in Los Angeles, California. I'm currently an associate professor with Pepperdine University's Graduate School of Education and Psychology. My first exposure to HPT was through my friend, colleague, business partner, and still collaborator, Ryan Watkins, who is also an associate professor of educational technology leadership with the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. A well-known fact, instead of a little-known fact, perhaps, is that Ryan and I were high school buddies starting from our junior year on. We ended up at different universities, but in the end ended up at Florida State together under Roger Kaufman's tutelage. And since then we've both gone our different geographical directions, but have still maintained a close association, both connected by HPT and connected by history as well. Let's see here. Biggest influence. My biggest influence within HPT has certainly been my exposure to Roger Kaufman's work regarding mega planning, ideal visioning, and strategic planning. My colleague Ryan and I, who I mentioned, like to joke about the idea of there being the mega blues. Once you've swallowed the pill and understand what it is that Roger tries to communicate, it's awfully difficult to realize that organizations don't have a responsibility to give back to the communities that they take from in terms of the resources that they operate. Roger's fond of speaking of the idea of if organizations don't add value, then what are they doing? Are they subtracting value, or are they leaving a zero-sum game? And either of those two alternatives are really viable alternatives within the landscape of human performance technology and within the landscape of what it is within the current economical environment. A recent HPT project that I've been involved with is with a large managed care provider, healthcare provider, who was interested in the idea of, well, first let me say what some of the limitations were and some of the constraints were. The managed care provider was, because of labor management collectively bargained contracts, able to provide certain solution sets and unable to provide other solution sets, which of course flies in the face of what it is to do good performance analysis and to be able to recognize ways that there might be efficient and effective ways to reach organizational goals that are beyond the single solutions that often get brought to an instructional designer or human performance consultant by leadership. That said, one of the opportunities that did exist was in the area of structured on-the-job training, because what it allowed for, at least in theory, was the idea of experts, known as preceptors, to work with students who were being trained in technical skills within the healthcare organization to be on the floor and do their job, so that there was an opportunity to train to first do a performance analysis to learn what it was that these expert preceptors were doing. Secondly, develop a curriculum to train other preceptors in that skill, and then third, be able to allow for these preceptors to work with incoming technologists as they came into the healthcare organization and be able to provide just-in-time and real immersed training regarding the skill sets that they had. Due to a variety of political confoundings, the opportunity presented itself, and due in some ways to some of the same political challenges, the opportunity also has been paused, at least for the time being. So I think one of the things that I've learned most interestingly about this vignette is the constraints that HPT professionals are faced can often be the things that they can leverage when they seek to make influence within an organization or within a larger system. Also, they can be the kind of things that stymie us as well. All right, well, being in the professoriate, it's awfully difficult to have a 30-second elevator speech regarding anything. I think maybe our clocks run a bit slower than most. But I will say that one thing that is true about human performance technology is that many people who practice and preach within the field have different definitions of what it is, what performance is. I would argue that having these different definitions is useful for discussion, but can hinder collective direction. One of the things that ends up being true regarding the notion of performance is that we define it by what it's not. Well, we know performance isn't happening in this situation because of this evidence here. We know that this situation isn't this intervention set isn't leading to particular performance because of these sets of evidence. So I'd argue that both things are necessary to avoid within the idea of approaching performance. One is to be ambiguous about what it is, and the other is to be evasive about what it isn't. So what's important instead is to define performance as distinct from that which is performing. And to me what that means is that performance is defined straightly and simply as the demonstration of measurable and meaningful results. Organizations accomplish, individuals and societies accomplish results when accomplish performance when the results that it accomplishes are meaningful and measurable. Without that, are we adding value or are we subtracting value? Becomes the question. Okay. Great results rarely happen by chance. One of the things that human performance technology and the allied skill and professional sets that come along with it have provided us is really good ways of identifying discrepancies between what is and what should be in terms of results. Performance analysis and the allied skill set of needs assessment have really come from a theory to a science, I would argue, within human performance technology. So too, cause analysis, or the way of identifying how it is, possible means how it is that an organization got the results that it's getting. In other words, cause analysis has become increasingly successful at demonstrating how an organization's what is became its what is, so that it can learn ways in which it wants to replicate things that work and avoid things that didn't work. So I would say that those two aspects of human performance technology are really coming to the state of being a technology within the profession. What we're less successful with so far seems to be making apples-to-apples comparisons against interventions to be able to make accurate conclusions about what the likelihood of an intervention's success is within a particular institutional setting. Now, granted, some of this comes out of the fact that there's so many variables that differ within organizational settings that what might work within your setting might not work within mine. But I would argue that there are active ingredients that are important for us as a field and as a profession of shared colleagues in ISPI to return to, in the sense of emphasizing what it is that our roots are, which is research. Without there being useful, situated research in organizational settings that provides meaningful information back to practitioners, academics such as me keep ourselves at an unnecessary distance from practitioners. By the same standard, practitioners who don't have the interest, ability, time, or wherewithal, or support to be able to be active consumers of bite-sized bits of research that are demonstrated to be meaningful and successful within their sector, lose out too. So I think one of the things that we as a profession must get better at, if we're to continue as a profession of practitioners and a profession of scholars, is to be able to have ways of synthesizing research knowledge in a way that is more appetizing to consumers and to practitioners, and to be able to have ways that practitioners can be involved in the undertakings of research with us in a way that doesn't put them out unnecessarily. So I look forward to the possibility of seeing that come true through some of the work that Guy's doing and some of the other folks that are on this video series. Thanks.